Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I got another amazing king on the RNG radio show. I'm just so excited. I am growing to the 250 number and past that. But I got to run through the bio first. So he graduated from the Rochester Institute of Technology with a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering before earning his MBA with a concentration in finance. He got his start in real estate as an undergrad with the purchase of his first home. And then upon graduation, he spent several years at a pharmaceutical company as an operations professional. During this time, he had purchased a multifamily property, which led to increased engagement in the field. And his most recent venture was the development of a new construction 14-unit building during the COVID-19 pandemic. I just make sure y'all heard that. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he was working on a new construction 14-unit building. We're going to get into that more. He leveraged practical insight, a problem-solving mindset, authentic leadership to tackle the inherent challenges developers face in ground-up construction. He's also an avid chess player, consumer of great podcasts, and entrepreneur. And as the chief loan strategist at BRRRR Cash, he empowers the dreams of real estate investors by helping them secure the right financing for their deals on their wealth-building journey to financial freedom. And ladies and gentlemen, because I hope you're here right now, I hope you got your pen and pad out right now. I hope you got some additional recording back device in the background, because we are going to drop some gems today, because I have none other than Mr. Owen Dublin on the show. Owen, how you doing today, brother?
Thank you, Dan, for having me on the show. I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. Awesome. It's an honor to have you. Listen, I want to hop right into it. Tell me about your story, man. I said in the bio, you come across a couple of deals. What really got you excited about the field? You're doing your 9 to 5, and then it's like, hey, real estate. Well, if you could explain to the audience, as far as what got you started.
So, I'll keep it simple, right? Because my story is actually very simple, right? Before I purchased real estate, I had a full-time job. And at some point in time, I realized that, a home mortgage is 30 years, from what I know, right? Just before I purchased my first home. And then you also hear you work for a company, you work for about 25, 30 years, and you retire, right? So I say, you know what? If I buy my first home right away, by the time I retire, my mortgage will be paid off. And that's literally how I got started, to say 30 years working, 30 years mortgage. Let me have that paid off, because I also knew that when I hear that when you retire, you're on a pension, and that's typically lower to your salary. So that was my whole thought process at the time. So let me buy right away when I start working, and I'm gonna work someplace for 30 years. So I thought, but by the time I'm done, my mortgage is paid off.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. So motivation, not going broke by the time Social Security finally kicks in. So I appreciate that. Now, with the clients that you work with, do you have clients like purchasing investment property, in the current environment where interest rates, are kind of sky through the roof? I know recent news has been saying, around the high 6s, low 7s. Are you still able to work with individuals when it comes to that?
Yeah, so I guess to answer your question, yes, right? Because investor clients, the interest rate is one part of the equation. And then if you think about the thought process of a investor, right? One thing that investors like is one-on-one negotiation, right? So if you think about a house is for sale and the rates are higher, most traditional buyers, even some investors, might not even want to purchase because they say the rates are high. But a skilled investor will say, I can have one-on-one negotiation and I can get to the price that works for me, because the numbers still work at a higher interest rate, and I'm able to negotiate with the seller one-on-one. When the rates drop, at that point, I'm going to improve my cash flow if I decide to keep the property. So yes, I have investors who are currently still actively buying in this environment because the numbers work and they have less competition. And it meets the criteria, they can go ahead and purchase the property.
Okay, great. No, that's awesome to hear, because you hear so much fear going on, especially with the mortgage rates. But it's good to know that there are still people, and I mean, it's seen on the news too. Properties are still being built, developments are still being made, deals are still being active. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Now, house hacking. For those that don't know, you pretty much get a 4-unit, live in one, rent out the 3. But is it purchase? For you, is the process to purchase investment property the same as buying a home to live in, such as house hacking?
No, it's slightly different, because when you're going to buy a house to live in, the guidelines requirements are based off of traditional residential guidelines, which may require you to have your pay stubs, your W-2s, maybe even your tax returns, things of that nature. When it comes to buying an investment property, we don't look at your personal income. We were actually about the property, the asset itself, those numbers. So for example, what's like the rental income of that particular property, or what is the rehab after repair value of the property? Because if the numbers work for that particular deal, income doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have a job or not. It doesn't matter if you have pay stubs. So the process is actually easier compared to when you buy a house to live in. So it actually sounds strange, right? But it's actually easier to buy investment properties because you don't need to have a job. You don't need to have income. You don't need to have W-2s. You need to have a property that where the numbers make sense. And if it does, we can find you finance and options to purchase that property.
Okay, so before we even move forward with the interview, because I'm pretty sure our folks are just trying to figure out, like, well, how can I get in contact with Owen? Can you drop that contact information or where folks can find you at on social media?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, we're also on Facebook and also on our website. So it's BRRRRcash.com. And I want to say B with four R's. So BRRRRcash.com. That's our website, but also BRRRRcash on social on Instagram and also on Facebook as well.
Beautiful, awesome. And for those listening, if you are listening right now, contact information will be posted in the description of this video as well. Now, for the first-time investors, what are some of the typical questions that you typically ask them? I know folks will probably just say like, "Hey, I'm ready to invest," but it's definitely a two-way street. So, what are the questions that you're typically asking investors before they get into investment property, whether it be for a rehab loan or a DSCR loan?
Yeah, so going back, to the type of asset, right? So I would say typically for investing, you have short-term money, which people may hate the term, hard money or private money or bridge loan. At the end of that, classified as short-term money because you typically have it for say 6 to 24 months. And those are typically used like if a property needs rehab. And so if the property needs rehab, I want to ask investor, new or experienced, what's your purchase price? What is the rehab amount? And what is the after repair value? And then also what's their estimated credit score. And so long as those numbers can kind of show that you're going to force enough appreciation in that property, that will help to dictate as far as if it qualifies for a rehab loan. When it comes to, say, I call it long-term money, where the property is, say, turnkey or very minor cosmetic, you're going to take care of yourself. I'm going to ask that potential investor, what's the property address? What's the estimated current rents, taxes, insurance, and the estimated credit score? Because once again, I want to analyze it based off the actual property itself and nothing to do with the personal income.
Okay. And you had mentioned credit score twice, and I just know, just from my personal experience, especially with the African American community, that's not something that's top of mind. It's usually going in hand with last time that they had went to the doctor. Ideally, though, what is the credit score that somebody should have, coming to the table or even around?
So ideally, I would say as a guideline above a 660, it gives you more options. Um, and also too, just in general, just when we talking about credit score, the higher the score, the better the rate's going to be, the better your leverage options for the loan versus the lower the score, you're going to pay more to borrow that same money for that same exact property. So if you are want to invest or not, I tell everyone to be aware of your score. If you know it needs to be improved, put the effort behind improving your score because you don't know when you're going to need it. And you're just better off having a good score now so that when you need it for anything, buying a car or whatever it may be, that you're not paying more to borrow that same money.
Great, awesome, appreciate that. And then with first-time investors, like how do you typically work with them? I know we had mentioned a few of the guidelines, but are you able to give any examples of how you've worked with current first-time investors either now or even in the past?
So first-time investors, I worked with first-time investors before, yes. And I think so my favorite quote that I have for my company is well, just in general, is fear plus action equals growth. So if a first time investor, they have that fear piece of the equation. as they know they know they want to take the action piece to get that investment property, but fear is sometimes fighting like a tug of war with them to move forward. So I kind of help guide them to say, expect the fear, right? This is something new that you're about to do. So if we know that we should expect the fear, it'll help you to get through the fear at the same time to take the action to buy the investment property.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And then when it comes to like rehab and like, let's say somebody already owns rehab property, are you able to assist them?
Yeah, so for something like in that scenario, because that's actually not uncommon where someone purchased a property from an auction or they inherited a property and it needs work. So in those scenarios, yes, we can actually do a cash or refinance on the current value of the unrehab property and also give them rehab money to fix the property. So we can also, yeah, we can help them out, yeah, for the
Okay.
scenario like that.
Love that, love that. And then I want to back it up a little bit. I mentioned about the 14 unit construction building in your bio. Can you talk about that story? You know, how you came across it, especially during times of the pandemic. I know we're kind of like post COVID-19, but still to your point, you know, people still get that fear and need to take that action so they can get to grow. But can we peek into that story a little bit?
Yes, definitely. So, I've invested in real estate for smaller assets, say single family, smaller multifamily existing buildings. And at some point in time, I was looking for potentially a larger existing multifamily. And every time I saw one, the numbers just didn't make sense. And then, being in the Philadelphia market, I was like, you know what? I would drive by, there's vacant land. And at the time, being aware of some of the local um, opportunities that have, like, say, tax abatements, things of that nature, I say, you know what, maybe I should build my own. Because if I build my own, I can, at that point, I don't have to worry what's behind the walls. I know that, for one, all the utilities can be separated because I'm building it that way. I'm not too worried about, major capital expenses because I'm putting on a brand new roof, for example. So I jokingly said to myself several years back that I'm going to build my own property, jokingly, right? And then one day I say, you know what? Maybe I should. And when I decide I am going to do it, I said, okay, what are the questions I need to solve to go on this journey that I've never been on? So literally, I said, so one of the first questions I need to solve is, okay, I need to understand zoning better because I need to, in order to build, you need to get the land. In order to get the land, you want to buy the right land. So, so for Philadelphia, they actually have like a zoning guide manual, which is about, say, 50 pages. Um, I read it, I would easily say, over 25 times because the first 5 to 10 times it was still like hieroglyphics to me. It didn't make any sense.
Why
But
read it Egyptian language?
yeah, you have, from CMM to RS, then you have these other, by right variants. This is a foreign document, right? But the more I read it, I started to hone in and understand it better. And at that point, my investor lens changed, right? Because at that point, because I understood now the zoning for a piece of land, I knew what I can build by right or by variant. And because of that, I was able to find actually the lot on the MLS. Because when I realized that most investors weren't looking per se to do ground up construction, a lot of investors are scared of it when I speak to investors. But because I added that new knowledge now, I became a more proficient investor in that path. And so that's how I found the lot on the MLS. Um, I also consulted with a architect, right? I call it like specialized knowledge, right? I don't know everything. I'm just a developer who's going on this journey. But what I learned is that with specialized knowledge, you can pay someone for their knowledge for the insight that you need. And so I paid an architect not to even draw up plans. This is before I even purchased a lot, just to understand how they think when it comes to design and limitations. So that helped me to search even more better when I found a potential lot, because at that point, I knew kind of things to look for as far as lot sizes from having that specialized consultation with an architect. I also partnered with a builder to build as well to remove I guess some of the risk of managing the contractor. If you have a builder that has equity in the deal, um, you can remove yourself a little bit from the process as far as monitoring the execution of the project. So once I got the lot, spoke to architect, the other piece of equation that's the same that you would do no matter where you are in your journey is running the numbers, right? So, before I found the lot that we purchased, I was literally running numbers on lots that made sense or did not make sense. And I purposely wanted to, improve my capacity running numbers because even if you're buying a single family home or a large property, that theory doesn't change in your investment journey. I mentioned to investors that you need to just appreciate the numbers. You don't have to love it, but appreciate it, right? This is like I call it the boring part of real estate investing is that you want your numbers to be, as good as possible. Um, and to get better at it is by just keep running numbers, right? Find a spreadsheet or a document you like and literally run a number for a property that you don't even want to buy. And then ask yourself after, I call it the lessons learned, why does it not work? Or what would have to change for it to work? And the more practice you do in building that strength as an investor, the better you'll be in your journey.
Beautiful, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the interview. You just got the blueprint, so get out there and get started. No, no, I really appreciate that breakdown. You dropped on two things as it relates to networking: the power of paid networking, asking somebody, and giving them the fee because by that small fee that you gave to them turn into so much as far as a return on your investment. And then even just in general, the power of networking, talking and asking people that do have that actual specialized knowledge to get you to where you need to be at. So, with that, Gem, is there any other piece of advice that you do have for any investor, whether they're beginning or maybe already have a good portfolio size?
If they're well, I will say, generally speaking, I tell investor or even regular person, just continue to take action. And I say that to say is that when you as a person take action, you don't know who you're inspiring or who's watching you in your journey. And because of that, you can impact so many people just by you taking action. So if you're regular, for example, Dan, you have a radio show. And if I ever one day want to have a radio show, just the fact that I know you taking action and doing that, it will naturally inspire me to do it the same, to do that. That makes any sense. Like I call it like the proximity to an action taker. I just made that up. But it's true. Like the more people who
Trademark
so
today.
yeah. So like, if I literally want to do a radio show because I know you, I am more inspired to do it one day.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I tell everyone just continue to take action. Tell people your story. Tell people what you're doing because somebody just needs to somebody may need to just hear what you're doing to inspire them to take action.
I love that. I love that. And I always hear or see different posts that says like, oh no, you got to keep your story to yourself or keep your journey to yourself. But I think we live in a day and age right now where authenticity needs to be key. Excuse me, I need my second cup of coffee. But that just needs to be key, and transparent. So that way when you are at that 15th step of your 1,000-step journey, somebody may be able to elevate you from 15 to maybe that 432nd step. So I think it's, definitely important with that. With that, Owen, my last final question, how can folks again get in contact with you or find you out on social media?
I would say you can contact me via Facebook, Instagram at BRRRR, B with four R's, BRRRR, the word cash, social media, and also a website, BRRRCash.com. Those are great ways to contact me. On those website, there are links to my calendar. So you can book a free financial strategy call as well via those platforms.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. And actually, I do got a bonus question for you. It's 2024, and I always like to talk about manifestation. What's the next 4 years look like for you? We're in 2028. What does Cash, what does Owen Dublin look like in the year 2028? What are you going for in the future?
So I guess I'm answering this is two ways. One for the company, Bird Cash, and one for myself personally. As I am, I guess, moving forward, exiting out from my current project and multifamily development, I'm gonna do that lessons learned process, right? And when I say that, I'm gonna be working on, I guess, the capital stack, being better at the capital stack. So when you do larger uh, deals per se or projects, you may have your first lien position debt, you may have mezzanine debt, you may have tax abatements, you may have LIHTC. So there's so many different ways to build the capital stack to get funded to acquire a property. You may also do a syndication or crowdfunding, right? So my next step, I guess, immediately for the next year, personally, is to become better at the capital stack as I go through my investment journey. And then for BRRRR Cash, we will continue to help investors on their journey, no matter where they may be.
Love that, man. Love that. Well, Owen, thank you again so much for coming on the podcast, dropping the gems, and definitely looking forward to having you potentially come back on for a part 2.
All right. Well, thank you, Daniel, for having me on the show.
Thank you for tuning in to the RNG Radio Show. Be sure to like and subscribe for more episodes and future content. If you'd like to learn more, visit us at danielumstead.com. Stay blessed, my fellow millionaires.